The men and women who built this company worked harder and smarter. And while the unique selling proposition for most insurance companies is an exclamation of mere puffery, Kapnick Insurance Group has grown to become the exception. Because integrity cannot be built overnight. It requires the embracing of change and stewardship without excuses. Only through experience and execution. Can one truly leverage the influence of innovation and creativity? This documentary is a thumbnail sketch of the agency that service built.
I'd like to introduce you to another great American success story, Kapnick Insurance. Now, Kapnick Insurance was established in 1946 when Elmer Kapnick purchased a small insurance agency here in Adrian. Now, a number of local agents warned that he would never make it, but through hard work and determination, Elmer proved them all wrong. Now, Elmer was an aggressive marketer. He was one of the first people to run consistent ads in the Daily Telegram and on the radio. He became well recognized in the community with such slogans as, "When you see me, don't think of insurance, but when you think of insurance, see me."
And that one kind of stuck. So I would say that that's probably the best Elmerism. You can't top that. So.
Well, I like that. The one I like the best, and it wasn't really a marketing slogan. This was a business philosophy slogan. And that was the sign he had right over his desk that said, "Nothing happens till somebody sells something."
Exactly.
Started off with Elmer Kapnick. After World War II, he started an agency. And it was pretty much dedicated to personal insurance, home, auto, life insurance.
Now, Elmer had a wonderful ability to understand people and to be fair with people. And he had an awful lot of persistence, which is important to start a new business.
And Elmer hired me first. I was 17, right out of high school, and we were the best small-town insurance agency ever. I remember Elmer spent a lot of time in the back of the office with his arms crossed, just watching us work. And what I learned from Elmer was the value of delivering excellent customer service and proofing everything you do. He wanted every I dotted, every T crossed. There couldn't be an error on any document you presented.
A quick little anecdote about Elmer Kapnick, the founder. He loved magic. He was a magician. He would walk around with his inside his coat pocket, and he would have 2 or 3 magic tricks. His favorite one was the multiplying rabbit. And he'd show you a sponge rabbit in his hand, and then he would clutch it and he says, now I'm going to have this rabbit multiply, and he'd have you put it in your hand, and when you open your hand, all of a sudden 5 or 6 sponge rabbits would appear. Elmer Kapnick loved magic, and he always brought a smile to every employee's face.
And the interesting thing about this picture is that my grandfather always wore short sleeve shirts. Always had a tie and a suit, but he always wore short sleeve shirts. So they went to take the picture, they wanted a cuff showing, but he had a short sleeve shirt on. So they took a piece of paper and they rolled it up and put it under there. So if you can see, it does not go all the way around. It only goes halfway. But I think it's pretty neat because that just kind of epitomized what my grandfather was.
In 1964, Douglas Kapnick joined the family business of then 6 employees. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Kapnick Insurance became an innovator in specialty insurance marketing. This allowed them to expand their customer base outside of Lenawee County and experience significant growth.
The guy that wrote the first well-known book on economics, his name was Adam Smith, 1700s in Scotland, wrote a book about economics, and one of his principles was the idea of specialization and how important it is.
When my dad got involved in the 60s, he kind of realized that Adrian was a real small town, and you can only be friends with a certain number of people and do business with a certain number of people, and if he wanted to expand it, they had to go outside of Adrian. So at that time, what was typical of insurance agencies, it's probably still typical today, is you kind of just become immersed in your community. What my dad did is he thought that, okay, you know what, we're going to go out and try to do more focused things on industry groups and go to the client as opposed to just trying to do everybody in your neighborhood. So he was pretty cutting edge at that time, and that was really where we got our first jump of growth, because we would go anywhere basically in the tri-state area to go in and try to write some insurance.
It's hard to say which part of the history was more important, the beginning part with Elmer or the second generation part with Douglas. Douglas was a very bright young fellow coming out of the University of Michigan. I think he had degrees in business and accounting, and he was ready to push towards more and faster growth. And of course Elmer was supportive of that. So we put our heads together and decided a good thing to start with would be the import automobile insurance. And those dealers or dealerships were kind of looked at that time as kind of a second-class citizen business. And so our plan was to give them some special attention and to organize an insurance program that was designed for them exclusively. We did that, and in fact, we actually created the Import Auto Dealer Association of Michigan, which was fictitious, really. There never was such an association, but we created that, and we put together the program, and I went out and sold it, and Doug put together the marketing to insurance companies and the designing of the program. And that kind of specialization was very important to the beginning success of Kapnick Insurance.
And Harry remembers all the successes, which we had a lot of success, obviously. But in between the import auto dealers, which was our first niche marketing or mass marketing, we had some success there. And right about that time, it was the late 60s, early 70s, and cable television was just coming into vogue.
Oh, I forgot the cable vision.
And the cable people were, they were local. There was small little local cable. So we put together a program for all the cable vision operators in the state of Michigan. That was actually, it was working until all of the cable people went broke and there was only one left. So that was a major failure. And if memory serves me right, we did a couple of those that didn't work at all.
I don't remember those.
Yeah, but which just goes to show you that you got to have some perseverance, and you have to continue just knocking your head against that wall if you're going to find some success.
Well, you know, Doug Kapnick was a great guy to work for, and was actually the reason that I joined Kapnick, because I could tell that from Doug's demeanor, any choice that he made or any decision that he made was really going to be for the right reasons. You know, to look at not only what was good for us, but was good, you know, primarily for the customer.
Doug Kapnick started off writing commercial insurance and was very strong in the commercial industry and really took Kapnick Insurance to the next level. We're seeing that now with his success and what he has brought to the ability that we now have 3 locations, and those 3 locations are because of Doug Kapnick and his innovative thinking, and again, his famous line, "We work harder and smarter."
We got our first computer with Douglas. We actually named it. It was Walter. And when we were with Elmer, when we processed a document, it was like 5 carbon papers. And everything, if you made a correction, you had to correct them all, and there couldn't be a smudge or anything. With Douglas, we finally got a computer, and what that boiled down to was, in the beginning, we each got an hour of time in the computer room to do our invoicing. We didn't have to do manual invoicing anymore, so we all took turns going to do our invoicing.
Kapnick Insurance is one of the most respected independent insurance agencies in the Midwest, with written premium volume in excess of $60 million. The 80 enthusiastic employees provide insurance and benefit packages to more than 11,000 clients in more than 25 states and in Canada.
Benefit Services Division hasn't always been part of Kapnick. Kapnick's been around since 1946, but the life benefit operation, as it was known back in the mid-'80s, started with only 1 employee and 1 part-time employee.
To understand the development of the Kapnick benefits area, you kind of have to understand what Blue Cross was doing at that time, because up until the mid-'80s, Blue Cross did not work directly with insurance agents. They had their own marketing staff, and in the mid-'80s they determined that what they were going to do is to start marketing through insurance agents. Okay, so up until that point in time, Blue Cross has always been the 800-pound gorilla.
Through the leadership of Rich Donner through the 80s and the 90s, we grew to over 300 clients and 7 employees.
We were essentially being operating as an insurance agent or broker, where we would look at the options that people had as far as what their coverages were. You know, we would help them through claims issues or service issues. But what we weren't providing directly at that point in time was any administrative services, and those were things that our clients were asking more for, because the COBRA law came into effect in the mid-'80s, and there was much more use of flexible spending accounts, and we weren't providing those services directly and saw the need to provide those services directly. So what we did was to look at whether to build those capabilities internally or to acquire someone who had those capabilities already built.
Kapnick at that time went and looked for an acquisition, and in 2001 acquired Harbor Benefit Services in Ann Arbor.
Was similar in size to what we were, but they had already built the administrative services. They were a licensed third-party administrator and were able to manage flexible spending accounts, COBRA administration, self-insured benefits, And so we thought that was a great fit. What they lacked was they didn't have, they only had one salesperson, or what we would call an account executive, where we had 11. So we were able to provide them with some marketing expertise, and they were able to provide us with some technical expertise, especially in the administrative area. So it really was a great marriage and worked out very well. After we had done the initial integration of the two entities, it was really recognized that what we needed was a strong leader to lead this into the future. And we needed someone that had the vision, the expertise, and the background to be able to move into the areas that we wanted to provide customer services to. And so there was a search done, and Steve was identified as the person that we really wanted to lead the organization moving into the future.
During the course of the 2000s, continued growth. In 2009, Kapnick made another acquisition of the iconic UFR agency.
Everybody loves a winning team. Well, there's a new team in town. It's a local team that has brought together two family-owned insurance companies and broadened the playing field with over 120 insurance professionals. UFR & Company Insurance is now a member of Kapnick Insurance Group. Become a part of this winning team. Kapnick Insurance Group. For all your insurance needs, call us today.
This is actually my third generation of the Kapnick family. Again, starting with Elmer Kapnick to Doug Kapnick, and now to the two boys, Jim and Mike Kapnick, who run Kapnick Insurance Group. And each one of these wonderful people have brought a different level of growth to our agency. To now look at Jim and Mike Kapnick and see that their drive and their professionalism matches their grandfather and their father's is wonderful. But to now see the next layer in which we're being innovative in regards to having quotes online, having applications online, having e-signatures, having the ability for our customers to communicate to us via Skype, via all the new technologies, makes us a world leader in delivering products to our customers.
With Jim and Mike, there's a lot of changes and innovation and excitement and involvement of all employees.
Doug took over from his father, Elmer, after he had been here about, after the agency was about 30 years old. And Mike and Jim took over from their dad after he had been running the agency for about 30 years. So it's been a very smooth transition. Both Mike and Jim worked outside of Kapnick Insurance, which I think was real important for their growth, as well as inside before they came in and started to lead. But they've continued to lead with those same core values that Doug had.
Kapnick Insurance continues the tradition of friendly, professional service and strong commitment, which has become synonymous with the Kapnick name. Now join me in welcoming founder and past president Elmer Kapnick and his wife Dorothy. Also current president Douglas Kapnick and his wife Mary. And vice president Jim Kapnick and his wife Susie.
We sell a piece of paper to people, and they pay incredible amounts of money for this piece of paper, and it's because of that that makes this business so special.
It's a well-known fact that selling an intangible is about 10 times harder than selling a physical product.
Sure, and I will tell you that we did it as well or better than everyone. Right? Right.
Perfect.
Can I go home now?
That